Hi.
Hi.
Hey everyone.
Hi, Analingus.
We're back for another fun-filled episode of Bizarre Buffet Podcast.
And I'm still Nessie, the quicksand model.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and I am still whatever it is that I said that I was.
Our last episode was about unusual or bizarre sex fetishes.
Can you
that
believe it?
Might not have heard of.
Push me down the fucking steps.
And throw me in a pile of quicksand.
Yes, and then we can interchange, and then Jen's going to be thrown down, and then I'm going to be in quicksand.
But
and
we
it's
can't
gonna...
throw me downstairs right now.
Not right now.
No.
That'll be
Because
revealed later.
Forever. We can't throw anyone down the steps.
No.
Yeah.
No, nobody can be thrown down the steps
I
because
almost revealed the secret, but it will be revealed soon enough.
it will be. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, our children, our beautiful children.
Right.
Okay. So
So,
I'm excited because you've been like telling me that this is a dark and twisted story.
yes. I know. It's like a few episodes back, I did The Simpsons house.
Well, like those couple of episodes were just all very like mild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And very whimsical.
It was
Very
whimsical,
whimsy.
right?
The
I
Mary
was like,
Cemetery.
Yeah.
I
Mary,
loved it.
it's in the
Mary
name.
Cemetery was so cute, though.
We got so many amazing comments about that. Like,
Yeah.
people loved it. They
Mary
really did.
Cemetery was really good.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
that
fantastic.
Really good.
Because it was whimsical, but it was still fucking dark.
It was morbid.
It was
because
morbid.
because the Mary Cemetery was essentially, like, for those of you who maybe didn't listen to the episode, was like people who, like, their tombstones essentially said exactly what happened to them: good,
Yeah.
bad, indifferent.
But the artwork was very like cheery and bright colors.
That's right.
Bury me in the Mary Cemetery.
I want to be
Same.
buried in the Mary Cemetery.
I would love that.
And I still want my tombstone to say "Go away."
Go, yes,
Leave
go.
me alone.
I'm resting in peace. Go the fuck
Yeah.
away.
Exactly. But leave me alone. Goodbye.
Yes.
You didn't visit me when I was alive.
Yep.
Why visit me when you're dead?
No, I agree. Same.
So, I guess to start this topic or episode off, we always start with a question.
Yes, we do.
You could take this deep or you could take it at surface base, whatever you want. But
Okay.
the question is, what's the most bizarre thing about your family or the most bizarre thing that's ever happened within your family?
Oh, well, we can insert episode art here for you. your niece.
Yes, my niece, the killer. I'm related to a killer, Laura Bluestein. Yes, that is definitely, and thank you. That is definitely one. My niece, my best friend as a child, who is a lesbian, who killed her partner, who is also a female, identified as, a gay woman. That was one of them for sure. I would say that's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did not see that coming.
So I guess something bizarre about my family, it's not really like deep like that. It's kind of more cringy.
We love all of
like,
it.
When I was a kid, we used to do 18th century Revolutionary War reenacting.
Really?
Yeah.
I kind of love that.
Like we used
Continue.
to like dress up and like go to these like reenactments and camp out, and I don't know. I see pictures of myself in like a little petticoat and like a cape, and I cringe.
Like Gettysburg type shit?
No, that's Civil War. Like I'm talking like George Washington.
Oh.
and
she's
like
old school.
Like old school.
Oh my God, the
Revolutionary
Delaware.
War. Yeah, my dad and my uncle Mark one year like reenacted like George Washington crossing the Delaware. I can get pictures between now and when
Okay.
we do this episode, and I will send them to you.
We will insert them here.
Okay.
Right here.
So yeah, it's kind of more cringe for me.
Oh, I love it. I think that's so good.
Aunt Terry and Uncle Doug used to come and watch.
Aunt Terry, Uncle Doug, shout out. Hey.
Yeah, they know about this.
We love you guys. Hi.
I guess for me, I mean, my whole family is bizarre, but
Hi, Pete and Maureen.
Hi, Pete and Maureen.
my parents are cool as fuck.
They are cool as
I love
fuck.
my
They
parents.
are.
My parents are great. So one thing that's like a little more like bizarre is in a few years ago, my dad did one of those like 23andMe situations. So my last name is Toriello, and I'm like 30.
Doesn't he look Italian?
He looks so Italian.
Doesn't he look like an Italian boy?
I was told like my whole life I'm like Irish and Italian. My dad's Italian, my mom's Irish, and everyone's like
Italian.
Yeah, everyone's like, you don't look Italian, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm not trying to. A few years ago, my dad did this whole like 23andMe jazz, like the DNA thing, and then he got the results back, and it stated that he was not Italian, but just like German and I think Swedish. So it led.
Hi, Pete.
Hi, Dad. But they're very vocal about this.
Yeah, they did an episode on their podcast called The Sonic Boomers.
Basically, my dad found out that he was adopted.
And didn't know, right? Until he did this 23andMe.
Until like 3 years ago.
That's absolutely bizarre. So like that your whole life.
Yup. And both of his parents have been like very long deceased. I mean, both of his parents died before I was born, and I was born in 87. So.
And he was very young when both of them died, too.
Yeah. So my dad found out, much later in age that his parents adopted him and were not Italian.
But you know what, though? I feel like...
I think my brother has a tattoo of, like, the Italian
flag. Wow, get that burned off.
I feel like this is more common than you would think.
Yeah, totally.
I think
like
so.
This happen pretty frequently, especially when you start going into these Ancestry.com and 23andMe things.
Yeah. I mean, like, at this point in my life, there's nothing that would surprise me if
I just learned that I'm Jewish.
I know, Mazel Tov. Yeah.
I'm getting you the Diary of Anne Frank. Signed copy.
Signed copy, yeah. Could you imagine? R.I.P.
R.I.P. Annie. Yeah, but it was, I felt bad because my dad, obviously, like, it's a shock,
Of course.
But
yes.
At any age.
But I said to my dad, but the parents that raised you, they loved you so much. Like, it doesn't matter. And I said to my parents, I was like, if I found out I was adopted, number one, I would be like, where the fuck did you get that money to adopt my fucking ass? Number two, I would be like, I really wouldn't care because you're the ones that raised me.
Yeah, well, anytime I speak to somebody in my day job who I know is like from a particularly wealthy background, I always have this ongoing joke where I'm like, do you want to adopt me? At this age, I was like, I'm slightly balding, but I make up for it in enthusiasm.
Yep.
You're an adult baby.
I could be an adult baby. I'd be fine with it. Put me in the crib. Do I get an inheritance? I'll take it.
You sure do.
I guess to like tie this in with the word like family, right? So in our podcast, we've covered like a wide variety of topics.
We sure have.
Especially ones involving bizarre or unusual family deaths.
True.
Right? So early on in episode 6, the family that drowned. It was about a family that drowned in their swimming pool.
Episode artwork
I
here.
was just thinking about that story a couple days ago.
Yeah.
That was weird.
That was a weird one.
And I know somebody who comes to me at the salon that I work at, who I mentioned before, who grew up in that neighborhood, and he actually had a childhood friend who grew up in that house before the family who died there.
Oh, that's bizarre.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, I'll try to get him on the show.
And then,
no promises.
Episode 59, we had the Christmas party massacre.
Oh, yes.
Brucey Claus.
Brucey Claus. Stop it. Yes, Brucey Claus.
And then, another episode that Jen did, episode 71, the Barari family suicide.
Yes.
God, yes.
The first episode that got us flagged on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, I
I'm
remember watching that, and it kept stopping.
And
Jerry and I were like, I think that we're getting flagged.
Yes, we were getting flagged. Yeah.
And then in more recent times, episode 99, the Menhaz murders, right?
Yeah.
So
a lot of the Jen topics.
A lot of the
family ones.
Yes, the family
ones, right?
So good. Jen, thank you for bringing controversial topics.
You can tell what the trauma is in my life. I'm just kidding.
I know. For everyone listening, we're all just kidding.
Just kidding.
Wink,
Aunt Terry and Uncle Doug.
Yes.
So in this episode, we're going to Thai Binh, which is in Vietnam. And we're going not that far back in time. We're going to 2002.
Well, we haven't been to Vietnam yet.
We haven't been to Vietnam. We've visited other Asian countries, but we've never been to Vietnam.
Yeah, so hello, Vietnam.
Hey, guys.
Do we have listeners in Vietnam?
I don't know, but if we do, hello to our Vietnamese listeners.
And
if you exist.
I really like eating pho.
Oh, it's so good. It's one of my favorites.
If we don't have listeners in Vietnam, we will now. All right, so today we're going to learn about 6 people in the Tran family who painfully succumbed to a mysterious illness, one after another, resulting in multiple deaths and even more questions.
You love these stories about people who all die of a similar thing.
Yeah, what was that last episode you did about the
Kamardaban incident with the mountains?
Artwork here, please.
Yeah. Right there.
Yup. This topic is most likely the biggest modern mystery in Vietnam right now.
Oh.
And in all reality, it has not really been talked about much on any podcast or YouTube.
Oh, shit.
I found this.
So we're like one of the first ones.
Yeah, we're like
pioneers.
We're treading like new ground. We're
Oregon Trail.
Yeah, we're like pioneering here.
Okay.
Of course.
We love that.
I actually found a Reddit thread about this, and then it led me to a YouTube post from someone named Lazy Masquerade.
Oh,
Lazy Masquerade.
Oh, for
Lazy
those,
Masquerade and Nessie, the quicksand model.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds like they should be friends.
For those of you listening, Lazy Masquerade on YouTube, highly recommend.
Yeah, well, the Lazy Masquerade has like 1 million subscribers. We don't need to support him. Lazy Masquerade needs to support us.
Yeah.
We need your help, Lazy.
Okay, lazy.
Don't get lazy.
Yeah, so.
But no, Lazy Masquerade is lit.
Yes.
Finding information about this was really scarce, which only inspired me to want to bring this onto our podcast.
Oh my god, just like Garika Gordon.
Gherkins Gordon.
Exactly.
See, we're on the same menstrual cycle.
Oh my god, you totally are.
We're back on it, Mark.
You're back on it.
We like to provide you guys with things that have not really been covered.
We try.
Yet.
We try our fucking best.
Hardest to find shit.
We do.
So let's talk about the Tran family. Let's meet the Trans.
Let's meet the Trans.
Trans. So it's 2002, and the Trans are a family of 4 generations happily living together in like the same like area.
Like the
or
Barari
farm.
family.
Like the Barari family. Exactly like the Bararis. The patriarch was Tran Van Rong, who was 65. He had 8 children. By 2002, 2 of his sons were already married with kids. So, okay, right. Good for you.
Good for him.
The family owned a rice farm. Business was doing really well. So well that their sons decided to both save up enough money to build their own new houses to be located next door to their parents on the farm, right? Because family is like a big deal for them. They want to be close together. However, this was only the beginning of the end.
Oh.
The horror began as soon as the construction started for their new home. Within the first few days of construction, the family's cattle became ill.
Oh.
The remaining livestock of chickens, pigs, and ducks started to go absolutely nuts to the point that they were attacking each other, and some of the animals were even running themselves into concrete walls.
Oh my god.
Voluntarily.
Wow.
Yep. Now, allegedly, some of these animals were even foaming at the mouth.
This sounds like your last episode that you did.
It does. That's why I was like intrigued by this. But the animals that were foaming at the mouth and everything, like none of them had rabies. So
what year was this? 2002?
2002. So within a few hours, all of the animals died, with the exception of like one duck, right? This like one random duck. On Reddit, like there's this whole like duck conspiracy. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm just not. But
that duck hole. Yeah.
It exists. So if you're like really intrigued by this episode and stuff, there's like a whole fucking duck thing. Just go down that rabbit hole on yourself.
Tran family ducks.
Yeah. So
Family ducks.
So now a few days later, the same thing happens now to the family's cattle, which I guess is our cows. Is that
Yeah,
cow?
it'd be
It's
like cows,
Yeah.
and this,
calves.
Yeah.
like bigger animals,
Yeah.
right? So this is even more of a disaster because it's bigger animals, so there's more investments, right? So the fact that the cattle went through this and the livestock, it was really detrimental to the family, and they lost tons of money, and now they're in like an emergency. That's their income.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, makes sense.
So before we continue, I'm going to ask you guys, based off of this, what do you think is happening?
So, okay, riddle me this. All right. So, I mean, this is also decades and decades later, but I remember during the Vietnam War, I'm talking like I was there, but the Americans used this, what is it, like this, like...
Agent Orange?
Agent Orange, yeah, that's what it was called, Agent Orange, to like actually kill the trees, because it was like literally all high trees, and being able to see the enemies, they would use the Agent Orange to kill the trees.
Yeah.
So like, I know it's decades later, but is it maybe something with like the air quality that's like affecting like these animals? I don't know. I mean,
it
we've
could
seen
be.
crazy shit happening here lately with the fucking Canadian forest fires.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. That's just...
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid call out.
It's a valid call out.
Yeah, for sure.
but I don't know. What do you think?
For me, I mean, I don't know. Could it have been the water supply that was maybe tainted? I think it's something atmospheric, kind of like what Jen was alluding to.
Like with the Agent Orange.
Yeah. Something either
Did I
in
crack the case?
We'll find out. I mean,
in the air or in the water, because like livestock needs water.
Okay.
But also livestock could be affected by the air, but also people and livestock could be affected by air and water.
okay.
So I think maybe something atmospheric
Okay.
could be at play.
Well, let's get a little deeper into it. Let's talk about the death of Von Viet. Okay.
Who's
Von Viet.
Which one is Von Viet?
Von Viet is part of this family. So Von Viet was the family's oldest son, and he happened to be like the most successful and healthy of the family members. He had a 5-year-old son. He started to fall ill from mysterious pains.
Now, did he start foaming at the mouth and stuff like the cattle and the...
Good question.
We'll find out. So he was sent to the hospital, but the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. He could no longer work anymore from the weakness, and he started to suffer similar symptoms that the animal suffered. Van began to foam at the mouth, and he had seizures. Eventually, while he was at the hospital, he did recover. So at the hospital, he had a full recovery. Once he returned back home to the farm, he died.
Okay.
He died during a violent seizure, leaving behind a 5-year-old child.
Wow. And can I also say that this reminds me of another episode that Jen did, Gloria Ramirez, the
Yes.
Toxic Lady.
Insert
artwork here. And it was very similar, like no one knew what was happening to her. Like she came in and she was like poisoning herself, but she didn't even like know that she was poisoning herself.
Correct.
Okay.
So his death was obviously like really hard for the family, especially because the doctors couldn't pinpoint like the exact
What
cause.
happened? What was the cause of death?
Correct. Weeks later, the same bizarre symptoms started to happen to the father and patriarch of the family, named Tran Von Rong, who was 65 years old. He was the one with the 8 children.
Oh.
He was so devastated about the loss of his child or his son that he took on drinking, and while simultaneously drinking, his health was rapidly deteriorating for reasons unknown. Less than 1 month after his son passed away, he too started to develop the same symptoms and had violent seizures and eventually died.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So now 2 members of this family are deceased.
And a handful of animals.
Yeah.
Don't forget the animals.
No,
Animals.
never forget.
So now let's talk about the next death. And this involves a 6-year-old.
Oh, boy.
So if you're like upset by child death, don't listen, I guess.
Yeah, trigger warning.
Trigger warning, as they say. Okay,
Yeah,
so
we need to get better at doing that.
So 3 months after his death, the family held a ceremony, like a funeral kind of thing, right? Per Vietnamese tradition. So the 4 generations of family, they marched out to the cemetery to perform this like memorial ceremony. Among the family was Van Oot, his wife, and his 6-year-old son. Midway through the ceremony, the 6-year-old boy collapsed. He was convulsing, foaming at the mouth, turned purple, and died within minutes.
Oh.
Now, as this was happening, people at the ceremony also fainted, but that's probably due to like shock,
Right?
and
Yeah.
hysteria and being upset.
Yeah.
Still strange, but I think that's what that was.
You could kind of surmise that, yeah.
Yeah. Now, days following this funeral ceremony, 3 more members of the family were rushed to the hospital, which included that 6-year-old's father, Van Oot, his wife, and Van Oot's mother, Eugene Tai Dow. Eugene Tai Dow died shortly after being admitted to the hospital. Van Oot recovered at the hospital, but upon coming home, he eventually passed away in the family's house.
God.
When he died, his wife packed her bags and left the family home, never to return again.
And she survived.
She survived.
Wow.
And when she left that house, her health issues disappeared.
That area, that house was making them sick.
Listen, I'm sorry.
Black mold, I don't know.
If I was in a living situation and I saw one person start foaming at the mouth, just going and seizing, I'd be like, deuces, I'm packing my bag.
Yeah.
I will see you all never again.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think
Let me
that's
know
what
when
she
this
did.
clears up.
I think after
Yeah.
she lost her son and all this other stuff, she was
Yeah.
like, there's something funky
going on here.
Yeah.
So then, like, with all this, like, weird death stuff with this family, it became the talk of the town. So now, you know, this healthy, successful family had 5 unexplained deaths due to mysterious disease.
Wow.
Word started to spread through the country of Vietnam very quickly.
It's a small country.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like,
It's not like super large. Yeah.
no, it's very small.
Yeah.
So tons of medical doctors and cops and various scientists started to get involved.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
And with this involvement became like this investigation. So for about 1 month, investigators looked through everything that they could. Water samples, air samples, samples of the food that they ate. You
And
know,
nothing.
so they went through everything they could, whether it was like water samples, air samples, food samples, any kind of food that was in the house, they like tested it. And this also included samples of any of the living creatures living in the areas. Radiation levels were measured and multiple people were interviewed. Surviving family members were allegedly followed by the cops too. Now, during this big investigation, another mysterious family death happened.
Oh boy.
This time, the family matriarch, meaning the oldest, you know, she was the oldest family
Right.
member. Her name was Van Tai Tam. She passed away in the hospital in similar ways to everyone else.
And this is the 6th person.
Yes.
Wow.
And it's worth noting that in this particular incident, the nurses taking care of her started suffering similar ailments and pains.
Like Gloria Ramirez.
Right?
Oh, what the fuck?
To the point where they were actually fainting.
Wow.
Like Gloria fucking Ramirez.
The toxic lady.
Yes.
The toxic lady.
Insert artwork again.
So,
Because she deserves it.
yeah.
She does.
So, now all this is still going on during the month of this investigation. The investigators kept coming up empty-handed and simply chalked all this up to pesticide poisoning.
Okay.
However,
Oh, boy.
because it is Bizarre Buffet. However, no such traces of pesticide poisons were found in the area or in the bodies of the victims. The report also did not list the type of poisons that it could have been.
So they just speculated, like, oh, probably poisons.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So that's like the story of the Tran family. There are a few theories out there.
Yes,
that I'm
what
just
are
going
they?
to, like, streamline it for everyone.
Tell us.
Before I get into the theories, I just want to ask you guys again, like, where do you stand on this? Like, what do you think is happening or what happened?
We mentioned a few times about Gloria Ramirez, the toxic lady, which was the episode that Jen covered. This
Insert artwork for like the 5th time.
for the 5th, 9th time here right now. For instance, Gloria Ramirez was using something that she shouldn't have been.
I forget what it was, but it was something that she was ingesting that should not have been ingested.
Yes, exactly.
Correct.
I have a feeling that there could have been something similar
Like
involved
some sort of
here.
holistic remedy that
And I
they
think
were using.
Yeah. And I think if there's like one person in the family who is kind of like the leader, and this kind of also connects to like the Bararis.
Yeah.
Once again, insert artwork again. With the Bararis, there was like one kind of like head household figure who was kind of influencing and controlling everything.
Everything and everyone.
Yeah, so I feel like it has something in there is connected. I think there was somebody who was like making certain choices or decisions of whether it be a product or something they ate or whatever it was. Like that's like the vibe that I get. It's very fucking weird. I don't know for sure. Nobody does, clearly.
All right, so here are some of the theories that exist. Here's theory number 1. Allegedly, shamans, monks, and doctors all came to the house to perform rituals, but left quickly due to a mysterious dark presence. So that's the first theory, was that
There was a dark presence.
a dark presence.
Some sort of paranormal activity shit.
Can I also say, so I'm going to counterbalance that and say that carbon monoxide poisoning is a very big thing.
Absolutely.
I don't know much about Vietnam. I don't claim to.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I remember is like the Agent Orange thing.
Exactly. That's me too. Same. So like
That's kind of where my brain's at.
Yeah.
But again, this
And
is like decades later.
But I think it's something along those lines.
Okay, so here's theory number 2. This one's my favorite because it's like silly. Theory number 2, the snake spirit theory.
Oh.
This one is my favorite, but it's absolutely not credible at all.
Well, snake spirit says all you need to know.
Exactly.
Now, and Jen, I know we're both like mortified of snakes.
We are.
Mortified. So apparently, when they started the construction of the new home on the family property, they ended up destroying the living space of an evil snake, which ended up cursing the family. So I guess like the snake wasn't
I'm glad
happy.
that the snake is dead at least.
Yes.
I'm not happy that it's haunting
Fuck
this
that
house.
snake. Yeah.
So like either the snake died or it like had to move and it was like, I'm gonna spite you.
Yes.
Right? I'm not sure if the snake spirit haunted that area of land and the house just happened to be built on it, or if it was like an actual snake that was alive and was pissed off.
Maybe both.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the snake theory. Here's theory number 3. I mean, there's always, when you go into conspiracy theories, there's always like government conspiracy.
Is there a government one?
Right.
Oh, of course.
So it's like, are we shocked? No. Allegedly, the government was testing nerve agents on this specific family, and they were like treating this family like guinea pigs. More plausible than the snake theory, but
I would say so.
I don't buy it. Now, theory number 4 is the one that I buy, and this makes perfect sense.
Oh, what is it?
Tell us.
So, theory number 4 is mercury poisoning.
Yeah.
And so,
why didn't we guess that? Why didn't we think that, Mark?
We don't have mercury on the brain.
But you guys were like in range, right? So now, Vietnam, unfortunately, it is known for being a poor country with a history of chemical warfare issues due to past wars.
Hi.
Hello, right?
Chemical warfare goddesses.
All of this really started to happen when they started doing construction on the property, right, with the family. So it's possible that during the construction process of digging into the earth to lay solid concrete foundations, I'm like a construction worker all of a sudden.
Yeah, yes, you are.
You pull
Where's your
off how
heart?
you're dressed right now as a construction worker.
Absolutely,
Cut the
yeah.
sleeves off of my shirt.
Yeah, you'd be great in Vietnam.
So, when they were like building the concrete foundations of like the home, they could have struck a mercury deposit while laying the water pipes into like the dirt, which would have contaminated the water.
We were on the right track.
You guys were absolutely on the right track.
So
Air, water. Yeah.
But also, like, if you think about it, like the family and the animals were both suffering. And what's one thing that the family and the animals have in common? They share a water source.
Yeah, and air.
And air. So that being said, some of the symptoms of mercury poisoning matches the symptoms of the family. For example, abdominal pains, headaches, irritability, seizures, anemia, death, behavior problems such as memory loss, loss in brain function. So if they did not breach a mercury deposit in the soil during the construction, it's possible that adding, like pipes into the water line or something, it could have been contaminated with mercury.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I had a history teacher, and
I thought you were going to say growing up I had mercury poisoning.
I might. I mean,
that would explain a lot.
It would explain probably most of my life abnormalities. So if I could figure that out, a doctor listening, please let me know. But I had a history teacher growing up. I think maybe a middle school, but she had mercury poisoning.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and mercury poisoning, I believe, presents itself differently in everybody depending on the extent. I'm not a scientist. Don't fucking quote me, YouTube listeners, viewers. But for her, her symptoms were like extreme fatigue. Like it came to a point where like her life was affected.
Yeah.
And I remember asking her about it, and she said that like essentially her family ate like a lot of fish, and there are certain like fish that are particularly high in mercury, which is why people who are pregnant shouldn't eat a high amount of fish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No raw fish.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's
if you're pregnant, don't eat raw fish.
Yeah, don't eat raw fish.
Stay away from fish.
Especially tuna. Tuna.
No, they tell you to stay away from tuna, swordfish.
Yeah.
Salmon and shrimp are like your safe ones.
What about Swedish fish?
Oh, you can eat that. Of course.
The sugar might not be good, but
not great,
you don't have to worry about mercury at least.
Well, and in the discussion of mercury, it should also be noted that the concentration of mercury is higher in that part of
Oh,
Vietnam
shit. There you go.
than any part of their country.
Wow.
There you go. That
Yeah.
makes sense then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's from a recent study conducted in 2022. So to close this off, because I'm like Jerry Springer. And
Oh my God.
rest
Are we
in peace,
starting with
Jerry.
the
We're doing a
R.I.P.?
final thought.
I love
Yes.
a final thought
Yeah.
with my topics. So,
Yeah.
R.I.P. Jerry Springer.
I know.
Rest-
Pioneer.
yeah. Pioneer and white trash.
He didn't have mercury
We love
poisoning,
you.
though.
We love you, Jerry.
But we love
We
you.
do.
To close this off, it's still unknown what exactly happened unless you really want to believe and default to the pesticide poisoning. On Reddit, there are rabbit holes of conspiracies. I think something happened, truthfully, during the construction process of the house or houses being built on their property. It's interesting because when the family members were off of the property is when they recovered. Also, I absolutely believe it was the water source because the animals and the humans
Share it.
were affected and they share that water sauce. That water source. I
Yeah.
almost said water sauce.
Water
Well,
sauce.
water sauce.
sauce.
Yeah, you can.
Water source.
Sauce has a base of water.
You know, and
fine.
I think this story is very dark and unusual. It reminds me a lot of the Kamar Daban incident, which
It
we
is.
recently covered.
Yeah.
Insert artwork here.
Yes.
With that situation, you know, multiple people unexpectedly died from seizuring, foaming at the mouth, etc. And also, animals were running into concrete walls during the Kamar Daban incident.
People were banging their head against rocks.
Hikers were banging their heads against rocks.
Yeah, bang.
So
bang,
I
bang.
think this is a very bizarre story. I think that's a very sad story, and I
It
think that
is.
is why it belongs on this podcast.
Oh yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
And
That was a good one, Mark.
it was really good. And I think most things can be explained. I really do. You know, it reminds me of this TED Talk, and it was this woman. I forget what she did as a profession, but you know, to make this
Doesn't
short,
matter.
yeah, to make
Yeah.
this short and sweet. Essentially, she investigated paranormal occurrences, and she was like, you know, what we do is seek out to debunk these things, and essentially what she said was most of these instances could be debunked with science,
Yeah.
and most of them were like carbon monoxide poisoning.
Well, she thought she was being haunted
Yes,
for the
she-
longest time.
yeah.
And it turns out is that she wasn't being haunted. She was like hearing things in her walls and having hallucinations, and it was because
Yeah.
she was having carbon monoxide
Yeah.
poisoning.
Yeah, so while it's fun, I mean, listen, I think there are things that can't be explained. I think that's part of the mystery or mysteries of life. We all enjoy these things, but I think a lot of things can be explained. I think this definitely can be.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But who the fuck knows? I mean, I'm not a scientist or a chemist or anything else, so we're a water expert or an air expert.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, that was amazing.
That
I
was
loved
really
it
great,
so
Mark.
much.
Thank you.
For sharing that with
Thank
us.
you.
And if all of you enjoyed listening to this with us, with Jen and I, who haven't heard this story.
No, never.
Yeah, never before. You know, go on Patreon if you can. You know, choose a tier. There's some fun shit on there. If you can't do Patreon, we understand. You know,
Just to support on Facebook, on Instagram.
yeah, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram,
Like us on Spotify.
subscribe, leave a
Subscribe.
review.
Yeah, a positive one, not a negative
negative.
one.
Yes, a positive, not a negative, is our old school
5
go-to.
stars.
Not a 1 star.
A 5
Five.
star.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to us, you can watch us on YouTube at Bizarre Buffet.
Our beautiful
Yes.
faces are
And
smiling
Hi,
at you.
we're looking at you, babe.
And I'm serving looks.
Yeah.
He always serves
And
us. Mark and
always.
I are in the same outfit
Yeah.
for the last 3
Exactly, because
episodes.
we're bitter.
Because we're just bitter and
We're
I
here.
do wardrobe
Lazy.
changes.
Yes,
I'm like the Madonna of the three of us.
well, we'll go with that.
But
okay, sure.
Yeah, sure.
but
Okay,
if-
Madge.
if you watch us, you can listen to us on any podcast platform.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I guess there's nothing else to be said, but with that being said, I am a toxic water supply in Vietnam.
And I am the family cattle.
And I'm the one duck that didn't die when all the animals died, and now there's like a whole conspiracy theory.
Maybe that duck didn't like water.
No.
Sodies.
Quack, quack, bitch.